Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a story for you that proves family gatherings are the best source of comedy. It's a classic tale of pride, spice, and the inevitable downfall that follows. So grab your popcorn or maybe a glass of milk because things are about to get heated. It all started last Sunday during our weekly family dinner. You know how these things go. Lots of food, lots of noise, and someone always trying to be the hero. This time, the hero was my brother. Let's call him Leo. Now, Leo has this thing where he thinks he's some kind of culinary tough guy. He'll put hot sauce on his ice cream if he thinks it'll impress someone. It's a whole persona he's cultivated over the years. So there we were, gathered around the table. Mum had made her famous roast chicken. There were mashed potatoes, gravy, green beans, the whole 9 yards. And on the side, sitting innocently in a small bowl, were these tiny, bright red chilies from her garden. They looked like little jewels, but we all knew they packed the heat of a dragon's breath. My grandpa calls them devil's teardrops, and for good reason. The conversation turned to spicy food, as it often does when those chilies are on the table. My uncle was telling a story about a fall curry he once tried and how he basically hallucinated for an hour. Everyone was sharing their own spicy food horror stories, laughing and wincing at the memories. That's when Leo saw his moment to shine. He leaned back in his chair with this smug look on his face and declared, "You guys are all amateurs. I can handle spicy food. Real spicy food." He gestured towards the bowl of chilies. "Those little things. That's child's play." A hush fell over the table. My dad raised an eyebrow. My aunt stopped mid. It was like a scene from an old western right before the duel. All eyes were on Leo, and he was soaking it all in, grinning from ear to ear. My mum, who usually stays out of these silly challenges, just smiled a sweet, knowing smile. She's the one who grew these chilies, after all. She knows their power. She looked at Leo and said, so gently, "Are you sure, dear? They're quite potent. Theft, Mum, please." Leo scoffed. "I've eaten ghost peppers for fun. Give me one." This was it, the point of no return. The atmosphere was electric. My little cousin was literally bouncing in her seat with excitement. My mom, with the grace of a queen offering a scepter, picked up a single tiny chili with a pair of tongs and placed it on Leo's plate. It sat there, gleaming under the dining room light, looking so small and harmless. Leo picked it up with his fingers, holding it up for everyone to see. "To the amateurs," he announced, and popped the whole thing into his mouth. He chewed it once, twice, with this look of absolute confidence. He even winked at me. And then it happened. For about 3 seconds, nothing changed. He just sat there, still chewing, a triumphant look on his face. Then his eyes widened. The chewing slowed down, then stopped completely. A single bead of sweat trickled down his temple. His confident smile began to twitch. The color started to rise in his cheeks, not a healthy blush, but a deep, alarming crimson. "It's gotta a bit of a kick, he managed to squeak out his voice a few octaves higher than usual. That was the last coherent sentence he spoke for the next 10 minutes. Suddenly, he shot up from his chair as if he'd been electrocuted. His mouth was wide open, but no sound was coming out, just a series of desperate gasps. He started fanning his face with his hands, then his napkin, then a placette. His face was now the exact shade of the chili he had just eaten. A beautiful, vibrant tomato red water. He finally choked out, his eyes pleading. Water, water now. My dad, who had been trying very hard not to laugh, calmly slid a glass of water towards him. Leo grabbed it and chugged the entire thing in about 2 seconds flat. But as anyone who knows anything about spice will tell you, water just spreads the fire. The water didn't help. In fact, it seemed to make it worse. His eyes started watering, and I mean streaming. Tears were pouring down his face, mixing with the sweat. He looked like a fountain. He started pacing around the dining room, clutching his throat, making these strange little whimpering sounds. At this point, the rest of the family had completely lost it. My uncle was laughing so hard he was crying. My grandpa was slapping his knee, roaring with laughter. My little cousin was just pointing and shouting, "Leo's on fire! Leo's on fire!" My mum, the instigator of this whole chaos, was just sitting there, sipping her tea with a serene smile, like a Bond villain watching her plan unfold perfectly. Leo's panic escalated. He ran to the kitchen sink and stuck his head under the faucet, desperately trying to douse the flames. We just heard muffled screams and sputtering from the kitchen. Then he came running back out, his hair soaking wet, his face still bright red. "Milk," he gasped. "I need milk, or bread, or anything." My aunt, trying to be helpful through her fits of laughter, handed him a slice of bread. He stuffed the entire thing in his mouth, but it was too late. The damage was done. He then sprinted to the fridge, yanked open the door, and started chugging milk straight from the carton, which is a cardinal sin in our house, but nobody cared at this point. The sight of my 6'2" brother, the self-proclaimed Spice King, standing in the middle of the kitchen with milk dribbling down his chin, his hair dripping, his face a mess of tears and sweat, was just too much. The entire family was in stitches. It was better than any comedy show I've ever seen. We were all holding our sides, gasping for air between laughs. After about 15 minutes of this chaos, which included him trying to eat a tub of yogurt and then attempting to stick his tongue in a bowl of ice cream, the heat finally started to subside. He collapsed back into his chair at the table. Defeated, he was panting, hiccuping, and looked like he had just run a marathon through a volcano. He looked around at all of us, still wiping tears of laughter from our eyes. He opened his mouth to say something, probably to defend his honor, but all that came out was a pathetic little hiccup. My dad finally caught his breath and said, "So, Leo, still think they're child's play?" Leo just shook his head slowly, unable to speak. He just picked up his glass, which I had refilled with milk, and took a long, slow sip. The Spice King had been dethroned by a single tiny chili, courtesy of his own mother. The best part, after all that drama, after he finally recovered, he quietly went back to eating his roast chicken, carefully avoiding anything that looked remotely spicy for the rest of the evening. He didn't say another word about his spice tolerance. I think it's safe to say he learned a valuable lesson that day. Never ever underestimate a mum's garden, or a mum for that matter. It's a story we bring up at every single family gathering now, and it never gets old. Every time Leo's face turns just a little bit red, though thankfully not as red as it was that fateful day. It's one of those perfect family moments that you'll cherish forever. So, what's the funniest family moment you've ever witnessed? Share your stories down in the comments below. I would absolutely love to read them. And if you enjoyed watching my brother's spicy downfall, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more joy and hilarious family tales. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.